Hi guys, Brook Potter here. In this video, I wanted to talk about the 5 new experiences I had while moving out to Essex from London. Now, first of all, full disclosure, I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. I moved out here in 2016. I started off in Ashford, Kent, moved up to Finsbury Park, and then I was in Enfield, and now I am in Essex. Now, not too far from London, the M25, which is kind of the unofficial border of London, is not too far from me. And just down the road from me is a overground station that will take me straight into Liverpool Street in about 30 to 40 minutes. So I have good access to London, but I'm not technically in London anymore. And coming out here, there have definitely been some noticeable changes, and I thought it'd be fun to discuss a few of those. The first and foremost is that the transportation out in Essex, at least in my area, is not as good as it was in London. People in London, as many of them can get by using the public transport. Many of them don't own cars. Many of them never learn to drive. And I kind of reserved myself that was going to be my condition until I moved out here. But when I got out here and I realized that most of the buses in this area stop at about 8 p.m. or something like that. I usually don't get back up from, partying in London until about 1 a.m. in the morning. So I use a lot of Uber. But yeah, the transportation tends to be, sparse. It tends to be spaced out. It doesn't run as late or sometimes as early as you'd like. You miss the bus, you got to wait at least an hour. It's that kind of thing. And that's fine. It's actually given rise to the second major thing that I've noticed out here, which is there seems to be a much healthier respect for the car out here in Essex. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is definitely a car country. People would spend their money on their car more so than buy a house, for instance. I'm not saying that's what's going on out here, but there's definitely a love of car out here in Essex. The young people, they do their car meets where they do their drifting and modified cars, and they show off body panels and stuff like that. And the older folks, they like nice cars. There's a lot of Mercedes and German design cars and stuff like that. I kind of described it like a Los Angeles light. I spent some time in Los Angeles. It kind of reminds me of that. Los Angeles is also, in Los Angeles, California, is also a car culture. The traffic is not as bad, fortunately, so that's a good thing. But yeah, there tends to be this thing, people like to have nice cars, and they seem to enjoy and have a healthy respect for the open road and that kind of independence, which is great. I can relate to that. Cars are relatively affordable to buy, very expensive to own. But as a result of this bad transportation and other things, I'm considering I might need to get a car, just to save me on all the Uber tips, But with that said, again, I'm coming from the Caribbean. I didn't have any idea about Essex. I didn't have any idea about the culture or anything like that. And when I told a friend of mine that I was moving to Essex, apart from laughing hysterically, she recommended that I watch what has become an icon out here in Essex, which is a show on television called The Only Way is Essex, or TOWIE for short, TOWIE. And it basically exemplifies the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the Essex culture of Essex boys and Essex girls. Now, if I offend anybody, please, that's not my intention. I don't fully understand these concepts. But coming from the Caribbean, it is noticeably different from what I've encountered in London and elsewhere. So an Essex girl, it's stereotypically a girl that's very into fashion, looks very good. It tends to be very high heels, short skirts, lots of cleavage, given over to fashion and considered not to be very bright. Now, this is not, of course, the reality. It's just a stereotype. The men, they're in love with their tracksuits for some reason. Like all of these guys are wearing tracksuits. Good-looking guys, well-groomed. They're taking care of themselves, and there seems to be a very health-conscious attitude, especially even with looks and other things like that, and appearances that you see out here in Essex. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. It's not as superficial as what I've seen in Los Angeles. People are generally trying to take care of themselves. With that, there is a unique tan, for want of a better word. The girls out here, if they're really into that whole thing, they tend to have a orange color to their complexion of this fake tan that they get. Now they say it's not orange; it's a specific shade of gold or something like that. But I must admit, the first time I saw two girls that were, when I moved out here and two girls had that, that tan color, I swore they were jaundiced. I thought they were sick and they were going to the doctor, right? And my friend had to explain to me, no, this is kind of the look of the Essex girls. And it was very funny because the two of them were standing in line, and the girl that was behind was fixing the hair of the girl in front of her so she'd look really pretty when she got up to the counter. I almost died laughing. I mean, I don't say that to offend anybody, but coming from my culture, that's different to say the least. But it's wonderful. I mean, even, the adults and some of the older folks, they definitely take care of themselves out here. So looking good is a very big part of the Essex culture. As I said, I've seen, my contemporary and older, really trying to hold it together, really, trying to look good and stuff like that. I've been out to the nightclubs out here and it's been pretty wild. And I've seen some grannies, is what I would suspect, still trying to rock it in the club. And it's almost a surreal experience, but it's true. But yeah, there's a heavy emphasis on looks. Again, sounds all like Los Angeles. I don't know why. I also have to comment briefly on the landscape out here. Parts of Essex are in the Greenbelt. Beautiful, beautiful scenery out here. Lots of forests and trees. When I do take the Ubers out, I'm driving out to Epping or whatever I'm going out to, there's the path out there is all these trees and ponds and just lush green and sometimes open fields, and there's a lot of wildlife out here as well. Not far from me, there's a duck pond with lots of birds. I open the window and I hear them flying over. There's a lot of equestrian stuff as well, the horses and animals. They have the Pegasus crossings, which are basically crosswalks specifically for people riding horses. So it's a very different feel compared to the city of London, London, the city. And I have to say, I kind of enjoyed coming from the Caribbean. Trinidad has some great open spaces. I'm accustomed to mountains and green and, opening the windows and hearing the birds and the dogs and the car alarms and all that, glorious nature sounds. So it's really refreshing for me to have a bit of that out here. And it's a beautiful landscape. Haven't seen much of it. I hope to see more the longer I'm out here. But so far, it's been really, really refreshing. And the last thing I have to say, the people out here have been so very friendly. For the time I was in London, I didn't even know my neighbors, apart from a couple of the places I went to buy food. I really didn't know like people in my immediate vicinity where I was in Finsbury Park or in Enfield for that matter. I mean, anybody who's been on the underground or the bus, it's almost against the law to have a conversation with people. I tend to be a little bit extroverted, so I strike up conversations when I'm in the pub and on the transport, and I'm talking to everybody, right? Which is, as people have seen, this is why I'm doing, videos and hosting a podcast, right? But out here, it's been very different. I've got to know all of my neighbors. I've got to know a lot of the people that I go out and socialize with. I know the pub owners, the restaurants, the cafes. People know what I want before I show up. Sometimes I'm coming through the door, they've already got my drink or my food. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And I've been very, very thankful for the community feel that I've had out where I am. There have been some difficult periods that I've gone through recently. And if it weren't for the support and the friends that I've made out here and just the overall community feel that I feel out here, I probably would not have bounced back as quickly as I hope I have. So yeah, those have been the 5 major cultural and experiences that I've had coming out to Essex. As I say, I don't mean to offend anybody about the Essex boy and the Essex girl thing. I'm just being honest. If that's offensive to anybody, I do apologize. But yeah, if anybody wants to recommend anything I'd like, I should see while out in Essex, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always open to suggestions. And as always, guys, be sure to subscribe and like and share this video with people who might find this entertaining. Hit the notification button so you know when new content has been uploaded. And if you disagree with what I've said and you think that, I'm completely wrong, put the comments below. We'll have the conversation. And once again, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Take care.